Well, I've pumped out another book review, and this time it's Beyond Order by Jordan Peterson. One thing I really love about Jordan Peterson is how he uses animal psychology to illustrate what humans should and shouldn't do. In his first book, it was lobsters, and his second one, it was rats. So be a rat, everybody. Just kidding. So he did a series of tests to determine how a rat can become an alpha rat through play. And you'd think it would just be the rat that wins the most, right? Well, actually, you'd be incorrect. In fact, if a smaller rat doesn't win at least 30 to 40% of the time, it will stop interacting completely with the rat that beats them all of the time. This is true in groups of primates as well. The dominant chimps and rats are those who learn to socially play well with others, even sometimes letting them win. This is of enormous benefit, and once again proves that hierarchies are not evolutionarily based on power and control, but on cooperation and manners. Chapter 1, ironically, is titled, Do Not Carelessly Denigrate Social Institutions or Creative Achievement. Many people claim with little or no evidence that all hierarchies, especially those in the West, are either a social construct or based completely on tyrannical control. Men are oppressing women, whites are oppressing blacks, rich are oppressing poor. I could go on and on if I dyed my hair blue and was waving a flaming bra. There are many things that are patently wrong about this, not least of all that anyone who works their way to the top of an organization often isn't recognized for their hard work or their skill and determination, but how their so-called privilege got them there. This makes everything based on power as opposed to cooperation. And if a person is to claim that throughout history, groups of people haven't been able to cooperate and have actually oppressed people by tyrannically wielding power, then we better just kick that in the butt and not recognize the validity of different groups at all because they've been irresponsible. Male privilege, white privilege, toxic masculinity, Christian privilege, all of these phrases are ill-disguised attempts to devalidify people's opinions based on their sex, culture, religion, or race. It's discrimination, plain and simple. These groups can't have relevant opinions on a problem because they are the ones who created it. If we paint humanity's history as oppressors and victims, it's not only a horrible view of human history, but it removes personal responsibility for all involved. Besides, if we carelessly denigrate institutions like religion and predominant culture, we have to replace it. They are the codes by which to operate. They are games that everyone knows the rules about and operates by them. If those things are taken away, everybody is operating by a different set of rules, and things are going to be unpredictable and chaotic. Nietzsche, Jordan Peterson's role model, talked about how humanity had reasoned away the need for spirituality. He famously called it the death of God, and talked about it in horror. Because if humans abandoned the moral structures that held them together for thousands of years, horrible things would happen. He warned about it, and a few decades later, World War II and communism broke out, which led to the deaths of hundreds of millions of people. It's incredibly dangerous to try to do away with any system, religious or not. It leaves a power vacuum, and unless what you've got is better than the collective wisdom of our forefathers, dating back thousands of years, you should be extremely careful before tampering with the existing system. And to second that notion, if the problems facing humanity are real, then people with ability should be in positions of power to solve those problems. That is the reason for authority. That is where the saying, with great power comes great responsibility, is from. To have power means that you're put in a position where you need to be empathetic and help solve problems plaguing those who aren't in the same position. I've quoted this excerpt before in another video, but the Gospel of Thomas really illustrates this point well. There is a point where Jesus catches a man working on the Sabbath, and he tells him that if he knows why he is doing what he is doing, then he is blessed. But if he is working out of ignorance, he is not blessed. This goes with keeping the spirit of the law and everybody's best interest at heart, rather than following the law to a letter. If your rule breaking is because the system has gone willfully blind, but it's in the spirit of keeping the system from total collapse, it's a great thing. But if you're breaking the rules just to break them, it's awful. Jordan Peterson uses the example of Harry Potter. In the books and movies, usually the broad wizarding world is blind to the trouble going on and follows the rules even when the world around them is willfully blind. So, Harry and his friends break the rules, unlike most heroes, but they break them to keep everyone safe. That's the reason they're heroes. They break the rules to preserve order instead of to further chaos. Now, we're operating on a totally different train of thought here in chapter 2, but there's something in this chapter that I found extremely helpful. The title is Imagine Who You Could Be and Aim Single-Mindedly at That. It talks about when humanity was separated into tribes. Each of these tribes had different gods people believed in. There were many gods, something that is called polytheism, and each of these gods were for different things like war, sex, fertility, wealth, you name it. There was a little fat golden statue of it. But as these tribes come together, one god emerged that was the best of all the gods. So monotheism, the belief in one supreme god, became more common than the belief in many. This relates to us because I believe that we have sub-personalities, polypersonalities. It's funny when I put it that way, but we all have personalities that want different things, whether it's relationships, sex, money, power, recognition. And they don't always work together to achieve the same thing. They compete. And sometimes we feed one personality or idea and not the other. And sometimes one personality possesses our conscious thoughts all of a sudden because of one profound thought. We can set ourselves back months of progress if we have sub-personalities that are working against each other. So I began listing off all of my little sub-personalities and trying to at least eliminate some or make rules, so that there's one overarching personality that works in my best interest. Deciding what you want is complicated when we think of it in these terms, but I think this analysis of our different complexes could be immensely helpful in pursuing who we'd like to be. It is, as Jordan Peterson says, the psychological equivalent of monotheism. He uses the example of a builder. If a builder is working on a ton of unrelated projects, it'll be hard. And a monotheistic personality can be hard long term. But instead of a bunch of little dwellings, over time, you will have a cathedral. The last thing I want to illustrate to you guys is a warning and an encouragement. Jordan Peterson tells of another example of a scientific study done on wildebeests. The researchers doing the analysis had an extremely hard time tracking a single wildebeest. They all seemed to look alike. So to track it down, they'd have one person drive up in their Jeep, trank it, and put red polka dots all over it. This made it incredibly easy for the researchers to track, but invariably, time after time of painting the wildebeest with red dots, it was very quickly eaten by lions. The lesson being that if you try to improve yourself, it can be extremely beneficial. Reading books, watching podcasts, listening to book reviews on YouTube, lions attack things that stick out. So if you want to stick out and you keep at it long term, it could and probably will be extremely beneficial. But it will attract them pussies. So stay at it, gang. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, or subscribe.